Hi, I'm Shashank Bhargava, and you're listening to Three Things, the Indian Express news show. In this episode, we talk about how adult and inappropriate words are creeping into videos on YouTube meant for children. We also take a quick look at how organizations in the Northeast have reacted to Amit Shah's comments regarding Hindi. But first, we talk about Pakistan. In the early hours of Sunday, Pakistan Prime Minister Imran Khan was finally ousted following a no-confidence vote. As we have mentioned in previous episodes, Khan had been in a state of crisis for some time now. All the opposition parties had been against him, his alliance partners had left him, and the Pakistan army no longer wanted him to be in power. Last week, there was going to be a no-confidence motion against him. But Khan managed to delay that and dissolved the National Assembly. But the matter was then taken up by the Supreme Court. In this segment, Indian Express's associate editor Shubhajit Roy joins us to talk about what the Supreme Court decided and who is expected to replace Imran Khan now. Shubhajit, after Imran Khan dissolved the National Assembly, the matter was then taken up by the Supreme Court. Could you talk about the decision the Supreme Court took?
Yeah, Shashank. So you're right. Once the matter went to the court said that Imran Khan's decision to not go ahead with the no trust vote was not legal. And he had also asked the president to dissolve the parliament and the assemblies and go for elections. So they declared that that was not legal, not constitutional. So as a result, the Pakistan parliament met on Saturday, and through the day there was like back and forth, there were debates, there was the stalling tactic, delaying tactic by the ruling government, ruling party, which is PTI, headed by Imran Khan. But in the end, just past midnight at about 1 a.m. Pakistan time, which is about 1:30 India time, the Pakistan National Assembly passed the no confidence motion where the government led by Imran Khan lost the vote. So that is what happened. So he lost the vote with 174 members voting in favor of the resolution in this 342-member house, which is 2 members more than the simple majority.
And this is what was supposed to happen before the no confidence motion was delayed and the National Assembly was dissolved. This is what Imran Khan feared would happen.
Yeah, I mean, this should have happened last weekend itself. But because Imran, as he says in his repeated statements, will play till the last ball, he tried all the tricks in the book to hang on to power, but miserably failed. In the end, the Pakistan Supreme Court stepped in and declared his moves unconstitutional. So now the government has fallen and there'll be a hunt for the next successor, which is expected to be someone from the PMLN, and potentially it would be Shahbaz Sharif, who is the brother of former Prime Minister of Pakistan, Nawaz Sharif.
And Shubhajit, Pakistan has never had a prime minister complete a full term in office. And that itself says a lot about how tumultuous Pakistan's politics is, right?
Yeah, you're right. I mean, Pakistan has never had a prime minister complete its full term. But having said that, you have to understand that after almost half a century of military rule, one way or the other, since 2007-8, there has been a democratically elected government. We may question the way the last elections took place and how Imran Khan won the elections. But in the end, since 2008 onwards, after Musharraf was ousted out of office, first Pakistan People's Party, PPP, which was used to be led by Benazir Bhutto, it won the elections. And then Nawaz Sharif's Pakistan Muslim League won the elections. After that, there's been a peaceful transition to Imran Khan. So although Pakistan's politics has been fractious, noisy, chaotic, but for the last 15 years or so, there has been democratically elected governments in place. So that also you have to understand from the checkered history of Pakistan that that's not a small thing.
Right. And Shubhajit, with Imran Khan no longer in power and a new prime minister set to come in, what implications does this have for India?
So there are a number of ways to look at it. As I wrote in my piece early morning on Sunday, that Pakistan's democracy has been known to be a flawed one. I mean, some call it a guided democracy. So this is also means that the Pakistan army still calling the shots. In Pakistan, many say that army were the ones to select Imran Khan to become the prime minister. But as the relations started getting strained over time, the army finally decided to dump him, making it clear that no political party can survive without the support of the military. That is a factor that India has to think of, that Pakistan army is still calling the shots. India this time actually became part of the discourse, especially in the last few days when Imran Khan started praising India for its foreign policy. And by doing that, he was essentially targeting Pakistan's military establishment for what he saw to be inept handling of its international and security policies. Now, this is said to have also irked the Pakistan military establishment more than ever.
And the other thing was also that Imran Khan and the army also had differences about how they wanted to deal with India, right?
Yeah, I mean, so if you remember, Imran Khan was extremely personal in his attacks in targeting Prime Minister Narendra Modi, also the BJP, RSS ruling, the dispensation here in India by calling them Nazi and all kinds of slurs or labels he used over the years, especially after the revocation of Article 370 in Kashmir. And that had really broken the strained relationship to a point which was quite low. But over the last year and a half, the Pakistan army and the Indian establishment started a back channel, and conversations led to this ceasefire at the LOC. And that has broadly been maintained, if you come to think of it, since February last year when it was agreed upon. And it's April now, more than a year now. So the Pakistan military, especially under the current army chief, Qamar Javed Bajwa, he has been making noises about building a better relationship with India. And now what that ultimately entails, we'll have to see. But clearly what happened at some point, Imran Khan's hostility or Imran Khan's public rhetoric was at variance with what the army chief was trying to convey. So it looked like they were not on the same page. Although Imran used to always say that Pakistan military establishment and his government were on the same page. But it became clearer in the last year or so that they were not. So I guess that was one of the reasons which created a gap between the two, the Pakistan civilian government led by Imran Khan and Pakistan army establishment led by General Qamar Javed Bajwa.
Okay, and you mentioned earlier that Shehbaz Sharif, the brother of Nawaz Sharif, is expected to become the new prime minister. Now, he is one of the senior most politicians in Pakistan right now. And if he comes to power, this would mean that the Sharif family would be at the forefront of Pakistan politics. Do we know how that will affect India?
Well, Sharif family obviously coming to power is seen positively by India. Although Nawaz Sharif and Shehbaz Sharif are different individuals and they operate differently, they think differently, they're not the same as two individuals. But broadly, the Sharif family and PMLN under Sharif dynasty have had made overtures towards India when they were in power. And India has known Nawaz Sharif and his policies towards India. In fact, that was one of the criticisms when he was ousted out of power, that he was too soft towards India. But in the current scenario, it might be difficult for even the Sharif family to make an outreach diplomatically towards India. But we'll have to see, because the atmosphere is vitiated and maybe the elections are expected to be held sometime later this year, or if they're due for next year, but they might be held earlier. We don't know. We'll have to see that. So that is one of the variables India has to look at. Also, that this really brings down the question of a chance, a possibility of an opening with India. Although it looks politically difficult because Imran Khan, the way he has squared the pitch for his successor. But with his ouster and the Sharif family on the horizon in the driver's seat, it would be relatively easier for Delhi and Islamabad to start diplomatic conversations once again.
And next we talk about YouTube Kids. Every day, millions of children around the world watch videos on YouTube Kids. They watch everything from cartoons and educational content to even sports and music videos. These are all videos specifically meant for children and are not supposed to contain anything age inappropriate. But a recently concluded study has found out that in many of these videos, adult words were somehow creeping in, like the words bitch, bastard, and even the F word. The study is titled Beach to Bitch, Inadvertent Unsafe Transcription for Kids Content on YouTube. And this study looked at over 7,000 videos on YouTube Kids. And it found out that these words were accidentally showing up in the transcripts of these videos. In this segment, Ashique KhudaBukhsh, the associate professor at Rochester Institute of Technology, who conducted the study, joins us to talk about it. So Ashique, could you talk about what led you to do the study?
So this research is done in collaboration with Sumit Kumar from Indian School of Business and Kritika Ramesh, a student from Manipal University. So she is jointly mentored by me and Sumit. So we were working on YouTube Kids data, and typical to any AI or data science project, when you have a data set, the first step is to just explore what are the different kind of things or different kind of characteristics that are present in a data. And that's when Kritika told us that she found the F word is present in many of the transcripts of these videos. And we were very surprised that how on earth this is possible, because these videos are watched by millions of kids, and while they are watching those videos, they are being watched by their parents. So we thought that this can't be true. And then we started investigating this finding of Kritika. And the more we started looking into it, we found that this is not like a one-off thing. There are many such age inappropriate words that creep into these transcripts. And that's how we started doing a comprehensive analysis of why this happened and how often does this happen, and if there is any way we can fix some of these errors.
Okay, so you mentioned that these inappropriate words were appearing in the transcript of these videos. So could you explain how transcripts are usually generated for YouTube videos?
So, if you go and watch a video on YouTube, you will see that you have the option to turn on the captions. Sometimes these captions are generated by humans, and sometimes these captions are generated by automatic methods. And the method that you get to see on YouTube videos when it's generated automatically, that's the method like Google Speech to Text. So typically what happens that these methods are trained on a large amount of speech examples and their corresponding transcripts. And then the artificial intelligence systems learns from these examples so that the input is a new audio input, then it can automatically generate the transcript. So that's how most of these systems work. And Google Speech to Text is one of these prominent systems. Amazon Transcribe is another system which does the same thing.
Okay, so Google Speech to Text and Amazon Transcribe, these are the two prominent programs through which transcripts are generated. And these programs are using artificial intelligence to do this. But when doing it, they are making mistakes because of which adult words are creeping into videos meant for children. What are some of the biggest errors that you found out while doing the study?
So one example was there is a video from Ryan's World YouTube channel, which has, I think, more than 32 million subscribers. And there is one example where Ryan is saying that I want to buy some corn. And the automatic subtitling system is saying that I would like to buy some corn. So that was a very strange error. Then there was another video where the audio input was, this is a wonderful piece of craft. And the automatic subtitling system is outputting, this is a wonderful piece of crap. The one very shocking and disturbing one that we saw where the audio input was, you need to be strong and brave like Heracles. And the automated transcription was, you need to be strong and rape like Heracles. So these are very age inappropriate, shockingly disturbing transcriptions that we found.
Okay, and what is the reason that these programs are making these mistakes?
So it's hard to give a definite answer because we don't know exactly what kind of data these models, these AI systems are trained on. But suppose the AI system is not trained on a lot of kids' speech example. So if in an adult conversation, you are more likely to encounter the sentence that I love porn as opposed to I love corn. So if there are many more examples of I love porn as opposed to I love corn in the training data set, then the systems are kind of swayed towards predicting I love porn when it sees that, okay, I can hear I love and there is some word which is very close to maybe porn, maybe corn. I would just go with porn because that's what I have seen in my data set more. So this could be one possible explanation, which we don't know if it's 100% correct. The other possible explanation could be that the training data is not very diverse. Like maybe there aren't enough examples from places where like people speak English as second language. So like, for example, I have a very strong accent and maybe there aren't enough examples of say people from India or people from Asia broadly. So if those kind of things happen, then also the systems will be making more this kind of errors on examples that it has not seen that often. And then the other example is in kids' video, there are a lot of background music. People often people often do baby talk. So those kind of things, if the systems do not have enough example, then again, they will make mistakes.
Yeah, because in baby talk, you're pronouncing the words completely differently.
Correct. Yeah. So actually, we had another like related paper where we showed that very strange and bizarre mistakes can happen. For instance, like if you train, say, AI systems to detect if something is hate speech or offensive speech. And then if you input chess discussions, harmless chess discussions, but you have a lot of black, white, kill, capture, attack, threats, all these words in those kind of discussions. So these hate speech detection systems will often make mistakes and say that chess discussions are hate speech. So we again had a paper on that. And it just shows that there are many potential blind spots in these AI systems. And the goal of researchers, both from academia and industry, our goal is to detect and report those blind spots so that the systems improve and this world becomes safer and better.
And considering the errors that you found out, what are the biggest concerns that there is?
So the biggest concern is we have to be way more vigilant about these things because we will implicitly assume that kids will not be exposed to harmful content because this is YouTube Kids or this video is actually from YouTube Kids. Maybe the kids are watching on general YouTube. We will just think that this video may not have any harmful content. But here, the interesting thing that is happening, the harmful content is not present in the source. The audio does not have these age inappropriate words, right? It's being introduced by an AI application. So we need to have checks and balances in every step where an AI application is modifying the source or creating some content out of the source. So that's, I think, the takeaway message that we have to be more vigilant whenever there is like a connected AI system where one AI system's output is another system's input. So in each of those steps, we would need to have some kind of checks and balances. So I think that's the main message. And again, like we have to be way more vigilant whenever like kids are involved. Because I mean, if you go to YouTube Kids and you look at the same video where I said that you need to be strong and rape like Heracles, if you search for the word rape, you will find no video. So which means that YouTube definitely has some kind of an implicit list where it blocks this kind of search. But the same video on general YouTube, if you turn on the subtitles, you will see that the word rape coming into the subtitles. So there needs to be better integration. There needs to be human monitoring to make sure that this kind of high visibility kids content, we have adequate steps and measures to make them safer.
And next we talk about the Hindi language. Last week, Home Minister Amit Shah, who chairs the Parliamentary Official Language Committee, announced that Hindi would be made compulsory in all 8 northeastern states up to class 10. He had been speaking at the 37th meeting of the committee when he said that 2,200 Hindi teachers had been recruited in the Northeast. But now, according to a report by Indian Express's Tora Agarwala, several Northeast-based organizations have urged the centre to roll back its decision to make Hindi compulsory till class 10 in the region. This includes Assam's apex literary body, the Assam Sahitya Sabha. In its statement, the Sabha said, quote, "The Union Home Minister should have instead taken steps to develop Assamese and other indigenous languages. Such steps spell a bleak future for Assamese and all indigenous languages in the Northeast." Unquote. It also added that the decision should be revoked. In the meeting mentioned earlier, Amit Shah had also said that Hindi was the language of India. He had, however, clarified that Hindi should be an alternative to English and not local languages. Amit Shah's comments have invoked sharp reactions from civil society groups as well as political parties in the region. Leader of the opposition in Assam, Debabrata Saikia, slammed the centre for interfering with education, which is a state subject. He said that learning Hindi at the expense of English will deprive our students of future opportunities. It is important to note that in the Northeast, Hindi is compulsorily taught till class 8, except in Arunachal Pradesh, where the language is more common and is a compulsory subject till class 10. You were listening to 3 Things by the Indian Express. Today's show was written and produced by me, Shashank Bhargava, and was edited and mixed by Suresh Pawar. If you like the show, then do subscribe to us wherever you get your podcasts. You can also recommend the show to someone you think will like it, share it with a friend or someone in your family. It's the best way for people to get to know about us. You can tweet us at Express Podcasts and write to us at podcasts@indianexpress.com.